Friend, the member for Clacton and I have been calling for British Steel to be a strategic national corporation for some 6 years. We said to this previous administration, we said the last thing they should do is sell it to the Chinese, but they ignored our splendid advice, because what this requires is long-term investment. The problem, as we all know, is that it's been beset by short-termism and, of course, by the vast energy costs in this country, electricity costs, partly caused by net stupid zero and the carbon tariffs.
Get ready, because what went down in Parliament was absolutely savage. Keir Starmer, usually calm, polished, and playing the part of a leader, got completely torn apart by one fearless MP. This wasn't just a challenging exchange, it was a political beatdown. Starmer tried to stay composed, but the more uncomfortable he looked, the worse it got. What did this MP reveal? Let's just say, Starmer's leadership took a serious hit. You don't want to miss this takedown. It's political drama at its finest.
I'm grateful to the Secretary of State for giving way. Given that the Secretary of State has inferred that actually the owners, Jingye, are not acting and have not acted in good faith, surely the right thing to do is to seize this great opportunity now, this weekend, and nationalise British Steel.
Which is completely the opposite when the member for Clacton said he was against intervening to save British Steel 2 years ago. Does the Secretary of State think he said that in the British interest or in the foreign interest the Reform Party seek to serve?
Well, my honourable friend...
It was meant to be just another routine back and forth in the House of Commons. A civil exchange of well-rehearsed fluff. But that's not what happened. Instead, it turned into a political cage match, with all the grace of a bar fight in the middle of a Tesco. On one side stood Sarah Owen, a Labour MP, fully loaded with party-approved soundbites, hashtags, and the kind of unshakable confidence that comes from reading way too many internal memos. On the other side was Richard Tice, striding in like he'd been waiting for this moment forever, ready to tear through the polished script of mainstream politics with a smirk and a political wrecking ball.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The hypocrisy of this debate is utterly extraordinary. Everybody agrees that steel is of strategic national importance, and yet it is both main parties, led by the Conservatives over there, whose obsession with net zero is leading to the removal of our blast furnace.
Now, to be fair, Labour had practically been begging for criticism all month. From their Olympic-level flip-flops on green policies to immigration positions that shift with every gust of political wind, and Keir Starmer's vanishing backbone, the public was already hanging by a thread. One more broken promise, and people were ready to snap. Frustration was at boiling point. Voters were fed up with being gaslit by politicians who spent more energy retracting statements than actually making firm decisions. And that's when, boom, Tice spotted his moment. This wasn't just a debate anymore. It turned into a full-on political exorcism.
Support this government in this bill today, but I think there's an opportunity, Secretary of State, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to go further. Show your cojones. Show some metal, Mr. Secretary of State. This weekend, Mr. Secretary of State, you have the opportunity. You have the opportunity, Secretary of State. Let's nationalise British Steel this weekend and make British Steel great again.
She rolled in with her usual crisis mode persona, the upbeat political firefighter who's mastered the art of dodging real answers by flooding every response with buzzwords. Her whole vibe practically shouted, "Let me reassure you," without actually saying anything meaningful. She had that perfectly practiced poise, the kind of media polish that comes from countless prep sessions. And somehow, she managed to look both concerned and condescending at the same time, like a teacher gently explaining why you're wrong, but acting like she appreciates your input anyway.
Labour have been frightened of talking about immigration. They still are.
Not only are they still frightened of talking about it, but actually they want to suppress debate about it and smear anybody who wants to talk about it as a far-right thug. And and they're using some of their commentators and some of their sort of commentating supporters to try and do this. You had Dan Hodges on a bit earlier, and he's saying that we had a debate about immigration, it's done. Well, actually, the truth is, it's not done at all.
If you like this, please subscribe. But unfortunately for her, she arrived prepared for a courteous policy debate. Tice, by contrast, arrived prepared to body slam. This wasn't a relaxed Q&A. It was a verbal body slam. Whereas Owen droned through his party's new crop of repackaged old promises with about as much excitement as a jaded salesman, Tice dispatched them like he had somewhere else to go. No bombast, no melodrama, just cold, bare logic served up in public and unadorned. And it came crashing down like a freight train.
The country's going to the dogs. Frankly, our policies will save Britain.
Look, great result for you last night, but the Tories will say that people were using this as an opportunity for a protest vote, or they were simply staying at home, and you wouldn't get the same sort of behaviour at a general election.
And they would say that, wouldn't they? Look, the reality is people are not voting.
But there's some truth in that, is there not? The way that people have voted yesterday and last night is not the same way they voted at general elections.
I disagree. Actually, I think people are realising that they're tired, they're old, they're toxic, they've had their chance, they've blown it. Frankly, they should stand aside now, having messed up. Let me take on Keir Starmer head-to-head. I beat him hands down.
Labour spent the month self-destructing, flip-flopping on the environment, shifting immigration stances weekly, and Keir Starmer doing his vanishing act. The public was done. One more U-turn, and it would all snap. People are sick of leaders walking back more than they stand by. And Richard Tice saw his chance. This wasn't a debate, it was a reckoning. Sarah Owen showed up with Labour's usual PR shield, rehearsed lines and vague reassurance. But she came expecting a polite panel. Tice came to tear the house down. While she recited bullet points, Tice channeled the frustration in the room. No fluff, just blunt honesty and a political sledgehammer. Owen leaned on Labour's playbook. Sound carrying, blame Tories, dodge specifics. Tice hit with clarity, immigration chaos, NHS decline, economic damage. Then I posted my version of Starmer's real 5 missions. Betray Brexit. Embrace open borders. Throw women's rights under the bus. Kill jobs with net zero. Say everything. Commit to nothing. Owen threw out vague promises. Tice hit back with contradictions and receipts. You could see it. Her confidence wobbled. She brought a paper straw to a whiskey fight. Tice wasn't debating. He was dismantling. Owen pitched Starmer as steady hands. Tice tossed that straight into the bin of broken promises. Because let's face it, whether it's Tory or Labour, the result's the same. Higher taxes, lower wages, rising immigration, crumbling services. Brexit? Starmer flipped. NHS? Holes. Economy? Depends on the day. Owen tried Labour buzzwords, justice, equality, but they didn't land. Then came Labour's greatest hits of hypocrisy. Opposing housing while moaning about shortages, blocking green projects while preaching climate action. Tice didn't let up. Labour, he said, only takes positions once the polling says it's safe. His delivery? Raw. No spin. Just a guy saying what people are already shouting at their TVs. Owen couldn't name a single clear win without triggering a, but actually, her case for Labour sounded more like a group project gone sideways. That's why Tice connected. It wasn't left versus right, it was real versus rehearsed. And people can tell the difference. Labour's response afterward? Standard. Blame Tories. Cry misinformation. But the real takeaway was Owen's expression when the script stopped working. So is Tice the solution? Maybe not. But he's the wake-up call. And that call's getting louder. When the whole system's off-key, the guy who yanks the mic might just be the only one worth listening to.